hit that like and subscribe button. Hitting that like button helps get the video out there, and hitting that subscribe button helps us grow the channel over here, helps us build a community. So if you can hit both of those buttons, that'd mean a lot to me, and I'd appreciate it. Now, Black Swan, as you guys are probably already aware, is a Nihility wind unit who is a 5-star. And yes, she looks amazing. And I'm going to bring that up every time I talk about it. And based on what I've read so far, she's going to pair very well with Kafka. So if you have a Kafka on your account, Black Swan is only an improvement. So let's talk about Black Swan. With Black Swan, we'll start with her basic attack. Deals wind damage to a single target enemy with a chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana. So you can already get the whole thing about her kit going just with her basic attack. And if the hit target currently has wind shear, bleed, burn, or shock applied to them, each respectively has a chance of additionally inflicting 1 extra stack of Arcana to the enemy. So, kind of like wind shear, it looks like Arcana works similarly. It stacks, and therefore with more stacks means more dot damage. Keep in mind, Black Swan is a dot character. Damage over time is her friend. Now, talent. Each enemy target has a certain chance at the start of each turn to be inflicted by a stack of Arcana for every instance of DOT sustained. When afflicted by Arcana, enemy targets will receive wind DOT at the start of each turn. Each stack of Arcana increases the damage multiplier, similar to wind shear, which is then reset to 1 stack. There is a limit for Arcana stacks, similar to wind shear. At the beginning of an enemy's turn, when Arcana causes damage, Black Swan will trigger additional effects that can be stacked based upon the number of Arcana stacks inflicted on the target. Over 3 stacks, inflicts wind DOT to an adjacent enemy and has a chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana to adjacent targets. Over 7 stacks, the DOT inflicted this time ignores a certain percentage of the defense of both the target and the adjacent target. So basically, with her talent, increases the multiplier of Arcana, allows the Arcana stack to stack more, and each stack increases what the Arcana stacks do. 3 stacks allows it to basically be able to afflict and damage enemies that happen to be adjacent. Therefore, Arcana stacks just pass around like a virus. And then with 7, a certain percentage of their defense is going to be ignored by the Arcana stacks. So her DOT is just going to ramp up more and more and more as the battle progresses. Now we'll go to her skill. Deals wind damage to a single target enemy and any adjacent targets, kind of like a blast. At the same time, there is a chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana on the target enemy and the adjacent targets. There is a chance of reducing the defense of the target enemy and the adjacent targets, lasting for a certain number of turns. So, with her skill, she has got a chance of applying her Arcana stacks, and on top of that, she is able to reduce defense. That's 2 debuffs that she can apply with her skill. And it's going to be synergistic because if she's reducing defense, therefore her Arcana stacks are going to do more damage on top of that. And if you're pairing her with other Nihility units, let's say for example, with Kafka, probably her best pairing, it's just going to get the ball rolling because that's going to help out Kafka because she's going to be doing tons of damage and popping the Arcana stacks with the aid of Black Swan's defense reduction. It's going to be nuts. Now, to Black Swan's ultimate. Applies Epiphany on all enemies for a certain number of turns. Enemies afflicted by Epiphany take more damage in their turn, and their Arcana effect is regarded as wind shear, bleed, burn, and shock effects. In addition, when the Arcana effect is triggered at the beginning of the next turn, the Arcana stacks are not reset. The stack not reset effect can be triggered up to one time in Epiphany duration, and it charges are replenished when Epiphany is applied again. Deals 1 damage to all targets. So, putting Epiphany on, making the Arcana stacks act as every debuff that's a dot damage, and then allowing the stacks not to be reset, therefore allowing the Arcana stacks to last a little bit longer. This is going to be really good, and I'm wondering how the Arcana effect is regarded as wind shear, bleed, burn, and shock effects will synergize with, like, let's say for example, Kafka's ult. Will that make everything pop more often? And then just the fact that take more damage in their turn. All I'm gonna say is I can't wait to test this. I cannot wait to test how her ultimate synergizes with Kafka. Let's start with Trace 1. After using the skill to hit an enemy that has wind shear, bleed, burn, or shock, each of these debuffs respectively has a chance of inflicting 1 extra stack of Arcana. Alright, so right off the bat, when you pop her skill, instead of it having a chance to inflict just 1 stack of Arcana, you now have the chance of inflicting 2 stacks of Arcana. Therefore, again, getting the ball rolling faster with the Arcana stacks. Let's go to Trace 2. There is a chance to inflict 1 stack of Arcana when a target enters battle. Every time an enemy target receives DOT during a single attack by an ally, there is a chance for the target to be inflicted with a stack of Arcana. There is a time limit to the number of Arcana stacks that can be inflicted on an enemy in a single attack. Alright, again, we're getting the ball rolling extremely fast. Already, there's a chance to apply a stack as soon as the battle starts. Alright, there's 1. And then if you, right off the bat, if you use her skill in her initial attack, with this first trace and the skill already having a chance to put a stack, that could potentially be 3 stacks right at the beginning of the turn. And then, therefore, you're going to pop the talent for the 3 stacks. That's pretty cool. And then, again, if you're pairing her with Kafka, when Kafka uses her skill, she pops all the DOTs on an enemy during that attack. So she's going to pop the Arcana, because the Arcana is considered a DOT, and then boom, there's a chance to pop that Arcana. And then there will be 4 Arcana stacks. Again, it's all about getting the ball rolling. And then, let's get to the third trace. Increases the damage dealt by this unit by an amount equal to a certain percentage of effect hit rate up to a limit. What this means right here, don't even worry about wind damage. Don't worry about that at all. Because effect hit rate is where her damage is going to be coming from. That is the beauty of building this character. You're getting a bang for your buck when you're investing in effect hit rate. Effect hit rate is going to be upping her damage. Effect hit rate is going to be increasing her chances to put Arcana stacks. And then as a secondary stat, worry about attack, because like I just said, DOT damage scales better when you have a lot of attack on your character. I will say, this light cone it's a nice looking light cone. Alright, let's read the description. Increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 40%. Bam, that's like literally 40% damage with your Black Swan, if you're obviously putting this on your Black Swan. When the wearer deals damage to an enemy inflicted with wind shear, burn, shock, or bleed, they will individually gain 1 stack of profit. Another debuff. This effect can stack up to 4 times. In a single battle, each type of DOT can only generate 1 stack of profit. Every stack of profit increases the wearer's attack by 5%, and the DOT they deal will ignore 7.2% of the target's defense. More damage and more defense ignoring. Not a bad light cone. It's not a bad light cone at all, and this actually will pair really well because effect hit rate is a really good stat, especially on Black Swan. It's really good. It's a really good light cone. I mean, and again, the artwork is absolutely fantastic. Okay, now all I'm going to say is Black Swan is looking like a fantastic character. I think, and I know I've said this already before, but if you have Kafka on your account, Black Swan will be a nice pairing. And I think she's not only a fantastic looking character, I know I've made that very clear, but I think she's going to play very well. If you are a person who enjoys DOT damage dealers, and more than likely you have Kafka, I definitely would suggest you go for her. I myself am going to be going for her because I enjoy DOT damage dealers. But I'm going to go ahead and pretty much say that's pretty much it for the Black Swan part of this video. Now I am going to go on to the light cone preview for the free-to-play light cones. So, Flames of Fire. When the cumulative HP loss of the wearer during a single attack exceeds 25% of their max HP, or if the amount of their own HP is consumed at one time is greater than 25% of their max HP, immediately heals the wearer for 15% of their max HP. At the same time, increases the damage they deal by 25%, lasting for 2 turns. This effect can only be triggered once every 3 turns. Interesting. The fact that this can only be triggered once every 3 turns and it lasts for only 2 turns means you're going to have a 1-turn cooldown where you're not going to have any damage buff when it comes to your light cone. And the other problem with this light cone is that there's only like realistically 1 character that can use this light cone and actually effectively use it in its blade. But the other issue is that there's another really good light cone that works really well with blade and actually works really well with all the other destruction units, and that's a secret Val. So I would actually rather use a secret Val because it has a permanent uptime. Like, you were getting everything you need from a secret Val like every second of a battle, whereas this has a conditional effect, and only Blade realistically can use it effectively. So Flames of Fire is honestly not looking good, and Arlen can't effectively use it either, even though he does consume a bit of his HP, but he doesn't consume that much of his HP. It's not a good, it's a very niche light cone, I'll say that much. So next we'll go to Final Victor. Increases the wearer's attack by 12%. When the wearer lands a crit hit on enemies, the character gains a stack of good fortune, stacking up to 4 times. Every stack of good fortune the wearer has, this will increase their crit damage by 8%. Good fortune will be removed at the end of the wearer's turn. So the problem with this light cone, and keep in mind, all these light cones, as you can see, are super in position 1. So all these stats will be boosted because they're free to play, and it's easy to get them super in positions for free to play weapons or light cones. But on paper, like, if you take out good fortune will be removed at the end of the wearer's turn, this light cone would actually be really good. But the catch is that final text at the bottom, good fortune will be removed at the end of the wearer's turn. This is why this is so bad. Is that it lands on, like the buff is from crit hits. So every instance of a hit, you're going to get the crit damage buff from good fortune. And the problem is that most hunt characters usually just do 1 to 2 instances of an attack in their turn. It's just like one good hit and then they're done. And that is it. The only character that does multiple, like several hits in their turn is Topaz. With her skill. But the issue is Topaz is a follow-up, mainly a follow-up attack character. So when Nami does his turn, he's not going to get the buff from this because it's not Topaz's, like it's not officially Topaz's turn. And this only lasts during the wearer's turn. So half the time you are not getting the buff on Topaz, even though Topaz is the only character that can actually realistically use this light cone. Every other hunt character cannot effectively use this light cone. So this light cone, even it's dog shit. And the best character it can be used on, Topaz, she can only use it half the time. It would be more effective to use swordplay on Topaz because Topaz can keep on ramping her damage up, attacking the same character or enemy, and get more benefit out of that. And that's how you want to play Topaz anyways. Constantly attacking the same enemy that has the debuff from Nami on it. So we're not off to a good start. Niche, shit, and then we get to a good spot. The Erudition light cone, the day the cosmos fell, increases the wearer's attack by 16% when the wearer uses an attack and at least 2 attacked enemies have corresponding weaknesses. The wearer's crit damage increases by 20% for 2 turns. This is actually really good because it universally works on any character. And all you have to do is attack an enemy that has this, like the same weakness as the attack that you're using. So, for example, if you're attacking with Himiko and you're attacking 2 fire weakness enemies, bam, you get the buff, you get a good crit damage buff for 2 turns, and you're going to be able to keep popping that because, well, Himiko is going to be attacking fire weakness enemies. Her follow-up attack is going to be attacking probably fire weakness enemies, and you're going to have a permanent uptime on this light cone because there's no cooldown on it. It doesn't say you can't use it for so many turns. This is really good. This is a really good light cone. Do our Harmony light cone. After the wearer uses their basic attack, skill, or ultimate, all allies gain a Childishness, which increases the allies' damage from the same ability type as the one used by the wearer by 12%. Childishness only can take effect for the most recent ability type that the wearer used and cannot be stacked. This, again, we're touching on a really niche light cone. Basically, what this is saying is, we'll use Bronya as an example. When you're playing Bronya, the idea is to constantly pop skill. Pop skill, give a turn to your damage dealer. Pop skill, give a turn to your damage dealer. So, what this means is that when Bronya uses her skill, when she gives her turn to, let's say, Seela, now because Bronya used a skill, this light cone will activate and Seela will get a damage buff to her skill. this would actually, in this instance, work because the synergy works. But that is the niche situation. Let's say you are going to use Tingyun. Tingyun, this would be awful to use. Reason is that with Tingyun, you're using just about every one of your abilities. You're going to pop your skill at the beginning of the turn to give your damage buff to your main DPS. Then you are going to probably pop your ult, if you have it, to your character that's probably going to be your main DPS, or let's just say main DPS. And the thing is that with Tingyun, you're constantly using all your different abilities, because when the skill is not down on your Tingyun, like your main, you still have like 2 turns left on your main DPS's with Tingyun's skill, you're just going to basic attack. And if your main DPS is a character that wants to spam their skill 24/7, well, the basic attack buff that you just gave to your next attacking, like your next DPS, it's pointless. Let's say your main DPS was Blade. Blade spams basic attack. You pop skill to buff Blade, but it was pointless because Blade doesn't need it. Or let's say your main DPS is Seela, who's spamming her skill. If you're during the downtime when the buff's still up and you're basic attacking with Tingyun just to farm skill points, the basic attack buff that you gave Seela is pointless. Or if you popped ult on Seela, you weren't able to top off Seela's ult, well, the ult buff that you just gave to Seela is pointless. That is the problem with this light cone, is that it's so niche and it only works in very circumstantial moments. The only moment I can think of that this light cone works is when you're using Bronya with Seela, because you could just spam skill. And maybe Jingliu. Jingliu, it might work too with Bronya and Jingliu. A very niche light cone. Again, niche. Niche. Shit. Really good. Niche. Now to It's Showtime. The Nihility Light Cone. When the wearer inflicts a debuff on an enemy, gains a stack of Trick. Every stack of Trick increases the wearer's damage dealt by 6%, stacking up to 3 times. This effect lasts for 1 turn. When the wearer's effect hit rate is 80% or higher, increase the attack by 20%. This is a really interesting light cone, because it only pops off when you're inflicting debuffs. And I would say early in the battle, this would actually be pretty good, because that's when you're really starting to begin the process of applying debuffs. And characters like, let's say, Black Swan, characters, let's say, like Silverwolf, characters that like apply tons of debuffs would really pop off with this light cone. And really, it's only going to be Black Swan and Silverwolf that apply so many debuffs early on in the battle that would actually pop off with this. And also, the only characters that really can get up to that, where it's necessary to hit over 80% effect hit rate, is characters like Silverwolf and Black Swan. So, I mean, it's literally the Black Swan Silverwolf light cone, and that's pretty much it. It's good. It's good for early battle when you're beginning the process, but other than that, like once you get past the beginning parts of the battle where now the debuffs are on the enemies and they're just doing their thing, unless you need to refresh the debuff, it's just kind of okay. So I would just say this light cone's just okay.
And that would be basically it.
Alright, Destiny Threads for Woven, the Preservation Light Cone. Increases the wearer's effect resistance by 12%. Good, that's really good. Effect resistance is really useful. For every 100 defense the wearer has, increases the wearer's damage dealt by 0.8% up to a maximum of 32%. So, definitely put this on your character that has tons and tons of defense. The only characters I could think of that you usually build tons and tons of defense on, that are preservation. Japard, but you don't really need damage for Japard. March, but if you have Japard, you have no use for March. And then Fire Trailblazer. This would probably be good on Fire Trailblazer, but that's about it. And then one thing I started thinking of is that maybe these light cones are like designed with future characters in mind. So if there's like a damage dealing preservation unit, kind of like Fire Trailblazer, this would be kind of good. Like, or with this light cone, if there's a character that can actually use this, where they're doing like a hunt character that actually typically does multiple hits in a turn, this light cone would then be good on them. If there's a character coming out that's like a 4-star unit or a 5-star unit besides Blade that also likes to consume their own HP, again, this would probably be good on them. So there is a chance that these light cones have future characters in mind. But I think this is a really good preservation unit. The effect resistance is always good. And I think for now, this will probably be a good light cone for Fire Trailblazer unless a new character comes out that can actually use this as well. Now,
A light cone that baffles me. The Harmony Light Cone What Is Real. Increases the wearer's break effect by 24%. After using their basic attack, restore HP for the wearer by an amount equal to 2% of their max HP plus 800. So very interesting light cone. It allows for your healer character to also self-sustain when they use basic attack. But this is the odd thing. There is not an abundance character that has any use for break effect. There's not a single one. Every abundance character in the game has no use for break effect. So unless this dude in the light cone, whose name escapes me at this moment, has a need for break effect, this light cone is almost useless. So the only thing I can think of is that this light cone is designed for a future character in mind. But like I said, this light cone is niche. And that is the thing about just about every one of these light cones that are going to be free to play in Pinaconi when 2.0 comes out. It's like literally niche shit. Really good. Niche. Okay. Good. Niche. It's like more niche than okay. And honestly, that's not bad. They are free to play. We can't expect too much from these light cones. They're just basically being handed to us, which is fine. I'm not going to complain about it. But out of all of them, like I said, there's only like one really good light cone, one good light cone, one okay light cone, and the rest is niche with one shit. But that's my thoughts on the light cones. Definitely head down to the comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking of Black Swan. Are you planning on pulling for Black Swan? Are you hyped for Black Swan? And also, Head down in the comments and let me know about what you think with the light cones. Are you hyped for these light cones? Do you think some of these light cones are shit? Do you think some of these light cones are niche? I definitely want to hear your thoughts. So again, head down in the comments, let me know what you guys are thinking. And while you're at it, hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like button, helps get the video out there. Hitting that subscribe button helps get the channel out there. It helps us grow a community over here. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys later.